Welcome back. For the last decade, Huma Abedin has been defined in the public eye by those closest to her. Her work as a longtime aide to Hillary Clinton and her marriage to disgraced former Congressman Anthony Weiner put her in a harsh spotlight at times. And through it all, she has stayed mostly silent until now. Huma is out with a new memoir. It's called Both and: A Life in Many Worlds. We're going to talk to her in just a moment. But first, more on her journey. Huma Abedin has been a fixture in the political world for decades.
It's really good.
Making a name for herself as Hillary Clinton's right-hand woman, with some calling her Clinton's second daughter. Abedin started as a White House intern in 1996 before following Clinton to the Senate, the State Department, then back to the campaign trail as a top advisor for Clinton's 2016 presidential run.
Come out and help us fight.
But it wasn't until Abedin's personal life became consumed by scandal that she found herself in the spotlight.
I'm deeply sorry for the pain this has caused my wife, Huma, and our family.
In 2011, her estranged husband, Anthony Weiner, resigned from Congress after he admitted to texting sexually explicit photos of himself to several women. Abedin later by his side when he attempted to run for New York City mayor in 2013.
This behavior that I did was problematic, to say the least, destructive, to say the most.
When it was revealed Weiner had continued sexting under the pseudonym Carlos Danger, Abedin made a rare public statement in his defense.
I love him. I have forgiven him. I believe in him. And as we have said from the beginning, we are moving forward.
A documentary on the campaign capturing her stress behind the scenes.
It's like living a nightmare.
Weiner in an interview a few months later.
I don't think she did anything wrong. I mean, if her crime is standing at my side and helping me get through it.
The couple separated in 2016, just months before the FBI reopened its case into Clinton's emails after some emails between Clinton and Abedin were found on Weiner's computer, a development celebrated by Clinton's opponent.
Thank you, Huma. Good job, Huma.
The former Democratic nominee saying on Today in 2017 she believed the FBI investigation into the email scandal announced shortly before the election led directly to her loss.
I think the determining factor was the intervention by Comey on October 28th.
Well, that sets the stage, and Huma Abedin joins us now. Good morning.
Good morning, Savannah.
I've known you for years. Usually you're standing somewhere off stage while a candidate, the principal, is here. This is the first time you've ever done a live interview.
That's exactly right.
And how do you feel?
Well, I generally tend to like being in the background, but I'm feeling great. I'm really excited to be here today.
I wanted to ask you about this because you've had a fascinating life. There's no question. An international childhood. You've been at the heights of power. But you're writing a memoir, and you have to go there on everything. And it reopens the public gaze on some really painful chapters. Why did you want to do that?
Well, first of all, the book was amazing therapy for me. And I have spent 25 years of my life in public, and I've always been the invisible person, the silent person behind the primary person. And I've liked it that way. I preferred being in the background, being in service of the mission. But while I was silent, somebody else was telling my story. And I decided that if I allowed that to happen, somebody else is writing my history. And so for me, it's an opportunity to talk about this incredible, privileged, extraordinary life I had, the highs, the challenges, and maybe out there there are some women it might help, or some young brown girls or Muslim women. I think I have some lessons and some life experiences I'm proud to share. Well,
we can't possibly capture it all, but I have to ask you about Anthony, your husband, Anthony Weiner. You talk about meeting him. You were in your 20s. He was your first serious boyfriend, your first Valentine date, your first everything. Why did you fall for him? And were there warning signs even then?
I think from the minute I met Anthony, and I write extensively about our, meeting and our relationship. I mean, he was a force of nature. He was charismatic. He was smart. I think one of the things that really attracted me to Anthony at the beginning was our joint commitment to public service and trying to do the next right good thing. And in hindsight is 20/20. I think a lot of people look at our relationship from a 2021 perspective, but in the moment, it was this all-consuming, captivating love affair, as you said. He was my first love. He was the first man, as I write in the book, I'd ever been with. So we've been through a lot together.
Well, the book chronicles in deeply painful detail what appeared to be a cycle of betrayal, public revelation and humiliation, lies, and repeat that you went through. And I know there are people who would say, Savannah, you have to ask her, why did you stay so long? Why did you put up with that?
Well, as I said, a lot of people look at our relationship from a 2021 perspective. In that moment, in 2011, number one, I was in shock. Just to remind people, I mean, the first time the scandal broke, I was carrying his child. I wasn't even 12 weeks pregnant. My baby became my primary focus. I was deeply in love with this man. I didn't understand the behavior or what was happening. And every sort of decision I made was a decision for that moment. For periods of time, I was just trying to get through that day.
Do you think you were in denial a little bit?
I don't think I was in denial. I think I did not understand that my husband had a compulsion, as was later revealed, an addiction that was increasingly getting worse over time. It's not that we weren't in therapy. It just wasn't, you have to be committed. And we tried, but we just didn't understand. It's why I write about it in such detail in the book.
He ran for mayor. He tried to mount a political comeback after the first revelation. You supported that move.
Yes.
You defended him.
Yes.
And in the middle of that campaign, yet new revelations came out. So essentially, while he's running for mayor, he's lying. You don't know it, but he does. Do you regret standing by him?
I don't regret standing by him. And as I say in the book, I have an entire chapter explaining the why. I know there's been a lot of speculation of what is wrong with her and what is she thinking in that time. But I decided it was the right thing to do because I had encouraged him to run for mayor. I did think that he was a good public servant, and I thought this was a way back for him. As I write very detailed, I was in shock. I went through a period of time saying, I want my life back. And we didn't just have any life. We had this most perfect life. I thought we had this amazing love affair. And so, no, for me, I felt I owed it to people to stand at that podium because I had supported his decision to run.
The final straw for you was a revelation, yet another one, in 2016, a picture of him, indecent, next to your sleeping toddler son. And that was the last straw for you. Did you worry that your child could be taken away from you? You write that CPS, Child Protective Services, investigated your family.
It was, yes. It was any mother, if you asked her what she would do if she thinks somebody would take your child, I think the answer would be what I wrote in the book, which is I would stand at that door and not allow it to happen. It was a harrowing experience, but I chose to write about it in great detail in the book.
All this time, this is all happening. It'd be enough for any one person. You're also at the heights of political power. There's a presidential campaign going on. You were a senior advisor to Hillary Clinton. And the irony is not lost on anyone that Hillary Clinton herself had been through public scandal, had to deal with an infidelity. Did she give you advice then? Did she say, Huma, leave him? Or did she, what was her thought then?
I have had the privilege of working for her for 25 years. And I would say, and I think anybody who works for Hillary would say this, is whenever I've had any personal challenges, or really any challenges, she has approached the conversation with me as a friend first and a boss second. And she showed every time that I am here for you, I support you, whatever your decision is, we are all here for you.
Things got very complicated when late in the campaign in 2016, some emails between you and Hillary Clinton were discovered on Anthony Weiner's laptop. They had been forwarded, the investigation found, so that he could print them out for you. But in any event, James Comey reopened the email investigation 11 days before Election Day. And you heard Hillary Clinton say she felt that contributed and was the determining factor, in her words, to her loss. You've said in the book that you will carry that to your grave. You feel guilty about it?
I lived with a tremendous amount of guilt. The moment this unprecedented announcement, 10 days before the election, breaking the norm of any previous FBI director, it was a shock to my system. And then 2 days earlier, and the thing that really got to me about that experience is the year before, when I had heard that the FBI was starting this investigation, I had not heard from anybody about any information, and I had volunteered. I had reached out to say, can I be helpful? I didn't understand why nobody tried to reach me. So, yes, I will carry that to my grave.
We just have a few moments left. I do want to ask you about a revelation in the book. You talked about being a young staffer in your 20s for then Senator Clinton, and a sitting U.S. senator forcibly trying to kiss you. You've said it's not sexual assault, but he made a pass at you. You didn't identify this senator. Why not?
So I was very thoughtful. I really thought about what I was going to include in the book. And if you've read the whole book, you can see that I have chosen to tell my full truth. And I told that story for two reasons. Number one, I think women or people tend to bury their trauma. And that is something that happened to me. And I had buried it. And the reason it came back to my mind is when I was watching the Brett Kavanaugh hearings and saw Christine Blasey Ford being challenged for some of the things, some memories that had come up, this convenient memory. And it was as I was watching the hearings and listening to this conversation that my experience came back to me. So for me, it's about being able to share my truth. And by the way, I think back in the 2000s, plenty of women, not just in politics, but even in every industry, just endured these things and buried them.
Just to put a pin on it, some senators now have said, Huma should identify this person because what if there are other people who have similar allegations? I mean, is this person still in the United States Senate today?
I chose not to name the individual because this story is not about him. This is about me. And in 2021, a woman should be able to talk about her trauma and her confusion and her experience, and it should be okay. Because I think what that story shows is that in the 2000s, that was not okay. You had to shut up and bury it and move on. And so I chose to tell my truth, and that is the truth.
Well, final seconds. This is a story about you. I knew we wouldn't have time to cover it all, but what do you see for your future?
Well, this is a whole new chapter for me. I am doing the thing with you, Savannah, that for my entire adult life I was terrified of, which is putting myself out there and being in public. And so I'm really looking forward to my
Think you'll run for office one of these days?
I am copying Shonda Rhimes. This is my year of saying yes. I'm not saying no to anything.
Wow. Okay. You're making a little news there at the end. Oh, that was yes.
Well, that was, I don't know.
Okay. All right. Well, good. You'll have to answer it again in the next interview. Huma Abedin, thank you so much. A pleasure to be with you. The book is called Both and A Life in Many Worlds, and it's out tomorrow.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Find your favorite recipes, celebrity interviews, uplifting stories, shop our favorite deals, and so much more with the Today app. Download it now.